Here's the question. How do you make the impossible possible? Simple. Remove the I am, the ego. Now, how do you step into that newfound possibility? With a series of small intentional steps. Never forget, the greatest among us started from humble beginnings. But to truly unlock your potential, realize you're here for something greater. If you're yearning for more than just a good life, let's take that small step together to reach greatness. Welcome to the Greatness from Small Beginnings podcast, where we're talking to those who have gone from mediocrity to motivated, overlooked to overachieving, forgettable to unforgettable. Are you ready? Let's go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Greatness from Small Beginnings podcast. I'm raising up so you can read my shirt. Isn't that good? All right. Where we talk about greatness. Lately, I'll do these podcasts by myself because honestly, I'm having troubles getting guests to come to me, mostly because it's a little bit of a lack of discipline that I'm asking people, but that I'm not scheduling them in. And I'm going to test my Zoom so that I can do some remote stuff with some of them, and then have some of them right here in my studio or a different studio that I sometimes use that you've seen on here maybe. I'm going to go through something I read recently that gives some really practical help. And I think it's really helpful to talk through some of these things. And it's about the science of happiness. And I don't remember who I got this from, but it's 7 things about the science of happiness. And they were recommending a book, which they did not put in this part of the email that I copied out of this. And these are the chapter titles in that book. So I'm going to go back and see if I can figure out which book it is. But the point is that it's the chapter titles and then a little piece from, I think this is from Carl Bryan. And it's a little thing he put in there afterwards in parentheses. So hopefully you'll be able to figure out which is which. Chapter 1, alter your ego. Your ego is not your amigo. Your ego is not your friend. Oh man, is that true? And I'll get to some of these others, and then that's where they dovetail together, because as I'm thinking, I'm justifying, and I want more out of the relationships around me. I want more than they're not just willing to give, but that they can give. And I don't deserve more in some cases. So chapter 1, alter your ego. In other words, make a choice to humble yourself and to realize that you're not the cat's meow. You're not the biggest thing in the world, that the world could survive without you. And even your job, your business could survive without you. What would happen if you were all of a sudden gone? Well, actually, whoever they is, would figure it out. And you probably have good people that could figure it out, but maybe you're the lid that's keeping it from growing. Sometimes I feel that I'm not skilled enough at what I do, or I'm just holding it back because I'm too egotistical, too proud to allow myself to see it that way. Chapter 2, avoid isolation. Depressed people isolate. Don't isolate. About 2 weeks ago, I realized, because I've had one period of time in my life where anxiety got the best of me, and I actually was on medication, anxiety medication, and was termed by those around me, close to me, that I was depressed. And I never felt depressed, and yet I was being identified as that person. And that still frustrates me to this day. But I just realized about 2 weeks ago that I'm actually showing currently some of those same patterns, where the dialogue in my head is one that pushes back and it justifies and it creates these scenarios, and all of that is terrible. And so what I need to do is don't isolate. to talk to other people, interact with other people, tell other people where I'm at in this thing. And more important than that is to serve others. When I'm able to speak in a way that shares the wisdom that I've been provided, then I actually resonate with the same wisdom and get out of my own head. So depressed people isolate. Don't isolate. Chapter 3, reject negative comparisons. Comparisons is a thief of joy. I do that. And I often see that in myself, that that's some of the dialogue in my own head. I compare and then I justify and then I create these arguments and how I'm going to win them. And I need to stop. I need to reject comparisons. And basically, I realized in the last couple of weeks, I hate being blamed for things, especially when I'm innocent, or maybe not completely innocent, but mostly innocent. And that I think in my head that I deserve the benefit of the doubt on the part that I'm not 100% not to blame, like the little piece that I'm not to blame on, or that I am to blame on. I deserve the benefit of the doubt on that, even though I'm mostly not to blame. And I don't like the blame game. I typically over the years have not been that guy to blame others, and yet in my head I have some of that dialogue nowadays. Reject negative comparisons, because comparison is the thief of joy. Oh, joy is one of my key words. And what I've realized recently more than ever is that if we're going to have joy in our life, we have to put ourselves in a position for it to live. We have to have good soil in our life. If our soil is contaminated, then joy goes away. That's how the thief steals it. Is it joy is like a plant, and if our soil is full of negativity, it's not soil that joy can grow in. We have to create, nurture an environment for joy to grow. Rough for me recently. Chapter 4, become more optimistic. Optimism can add 25 points to your IQ, and optimists run the business world. Wow, that is so true. It's not negative. People are not negative. Can make yourself smarter just being optimistic. And I've noticed that when I enjoy relationships. Relationally, someone confronted me recently on kind of being the wet blanket that came into a room and made things worse. And I have been bound and determined to make it not so that way. That spend a minute on relationship. Maybe not every single day with every person in that room, but to be relational in how I interact. If I have to paste a smile on my face and say something nice, though I may not feel like I want to say it, then it actually is worth it, and it actually is helpful to the other people. So, chapter 4, become more optimistic. That's what I've been working on. Chapter 5, control your attention. Control social media, controlling your attention. Cough, cough. We get into these times. I did this morning, I think it was. I had just had a few minutes when I pulled into the office, did not need to rush in to handle anything. And I just sat there and scrolled through about 10, maybe 15 reels, and used 6, 7, 8 minutes for a bunch of nonsense. And it wasn't gratifying, wasn't helpful at all. Now, every now and then you can go through and see the ones that might matter, but they didn't. None of them really did. And I let it control my head. So control your attention. And this is one of the things that I said in the last podcast, is that recently though I've spent decades reading the Bible every day of my life, with the exception of maybe 100 or so. I think it's super important to read the things that bring us up. And then I'm controlling my attention by adding the good things faster, I suppose. Maybe a good way to put it is faster than the bad things are coming in. Was getting my haircut today, and the person was talking about her dad, who is becoming an expert at news. And she said to him, she told me, she said to him recently, Dad, do you think maybe it would be more constructive not to spend so much time watching the news? And he didn't understand what she was talking about, but she told me that he's just very negative, just grumpy. And boy, I could resonate with that. Too much news would make me grumpy too. So control your attention, not only point it away from the things that don't deserve your attention or that bring you down, but replace it with things that bring you up. That's a good lesson for me and probably you. Okay. Chapter 6, connect with others. The example he uses, the happiest country in the world is Denmark. More small social groups than any other country. More families eating together, more time spent with spouses and kids and friends, and that is really important. I don't have to get deep into that for everybody to understand how important it is to connect with others. I can talk about it till I'm blue in the face, but there's a guy that puts out what he calls the morning five, and one of them is to send out a really valuable message, a message of encouragement to somebody else every day. Now, I don't always do that, and I'm thinking to myself, what if I added that to my morning routine? That would probably be really good. And so maybe I'll make that commitment to you that now, between now and the end of the year, I'll add that in to see how it resonates and see if I need to keep it there for life. Encourage somebody every day. Will that create more connections? Oh, it likely will. It has in the past, though I haven't done it every day. So maybe I'm going to make that commitment right now. Between now and the end of the year, which is just under 100 days, 93 or something, I don't know, that for the next 90 plus days, I'm going to send a message to someone to encourage them. Thank you for reminding me that I need to set those kind of goals. All right, chapter 7, and the last one, in this at least, is to get out of your own head. When we were talking about number 1, where it's alter your ego, and then reject comparisons, number 3, this is where I get whirling. I just get spinning around and talking about justifying myself and blaming someone else because I think I've been blamed, and creating this negative thing around me that I just need to be more optimistic. And so this one sums it up for me, is that get out of my own head. And in what he says in the postscript is, when you're in your head, you're behind enemy lines. And man, is that true for me. Don't let the enemy of your soul wreak havoc with your brain. And if he does in your brain, it will go to your heart. The way you think, the things you think of, become how your heart expresses life. So don't do it. Okay, we're going to finish up. It's a short one, those 7 chapters. You want me to read them again? I'll read them again so you can write them down. Please write them down. Alter your ego. Your ego is not your amigo. Chapter 2, avoid isolation. Depressed people isolate. Don't isolate. Chapter 3, reject negative comparisons. Comparison is your thief of joy. Chapter 4, become more optimistic. Optimism can add 25 points to your IQ, and optimists run the business world. In other words, they have influence. Chapter 5, control your attention. Control social media, control your attention. But instead, spend time in God's word and listening to the right stuff and those who will stimulate your brain. Maybe Jordan Peterson, maybe John Maxwell, these guys that are influential in our heads. Let them be there instead of the negative social media. Chapter 6, connect with others. Happiest country in the world is Denmark. More small social groups than the others. Connect with others. I made the promise that for every day for the rest of this year, I would send an encouraging message, at least an average of that number of days. So I will report how I'm doing on this. Number 7, get out of your own head. Chapter 7. Get out of your own head. When you're in your head, you're behind enemy lines. Remember that. There's an enemy of your soul, and he wants you crushed. He wants you illegitimate, worthless. If you're in your own head, thinking, justifying, blaming, because you've been blamed, like I've done some in the recent past, then you're not going anywhere. Write those down and consider them as you go through your day. Zig Ziglar, you were designed for accomplishment. That's you. Engineered for success. God did that for you. And endowed with the seeds of greatness. I was talking about the seeds that are planted in our lives. It nurtures joy. You have to have good soil. Now go be great. It's your choice.